How did this tradition get started? I'll tell you. I don't know.
But it's a tradition. And because of our traditions, every one of us knows who he is and what God expects him to do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Talk Torah. I am Rabbi Tzvi Jacobson with NRM Streamcast, and we'll spend our time talking Torah, learning stuff, and having fun while we learn. You can always send your questions and comments to our mailbag at letstalktorah@gmail.com, and of course, I will answer as many as I can. Or you can check out our webpage at letstalktorah.net. That's letstalktorah.net. The archives are there. The new shows are there. Questions, comments, you want to join the show. Last week we had a great guest. We had a lot of good feedback. And again, if you would like to be a guest, there's what you can fill out on the web page, and that would be amazing. And of course, the all important donate button, and you hit that button, and we become wealthy, maybe. But at least if you hit that donate button and you help us out, and we can take care of our expenses in this beautiful studio and allow us to continue the job that we're doing, that is greatly appreciated, and we do thank you in advance. And we are top 10 in FeedSpot's 10 best Jewish book podcasts. And guess what? We're number 4 today. We are not at 5 anymore. We are climbing. So the year is over. The year is over. Depends what you call the year. But for me, it's the school year. So we just had our last day of school yesterday, and it was a great day. You know, sometimes last days could be hard. Why should they behave? Why should they listen? But it was such a busy day. We had stuff to finish, and there was a story. I had like 20 pages left, and I had to sort of do it outside, and we had to give out books and prizes, and my class gives out a lot of the prizes because I'm the one responsible. It was just a really nice ending to a great, amazing school year. As I told someone today, I was speaking to a grandfather of a child I'll have next year. I said, every year is great, but I'm looking forward to next year. I'm looking forward to your grandchild. And I am. He's a real cute kid. But even if he wouldn't be, you know, you worked hard, you got through the year, and then you sort of recalibrate, as the principal likes to say, we recharge our batteries. That's what the summer is for, even though we'll be doing work during the summer. But it's different. Take some trips, head to the East Coast a couple times, visit people, hang out, but recharge and get ready to start all over. And maybe that's Korach. Maybe that's what he should have been thinking about, because he also wanted the Jewish people to start over, but he blew it big time. So we got a lot to talk about. This most famous, fascinating personality who gets a punishment that was created just for him. So we got to know, who is Korach? What happened? There's a lot of stuff that we have to get involved in this person, Korach. But before we start, it would be interesting to note, Korach is a fantastically wealthy person. He may have been one of the wealthiest people, I don't want to say ever, but certainly up there in tremendous wealth. Where did he get his wealth from? He's a slave coming out of Egypt. So we got to go even further back. So Joseph is in control of Egypt, and he's collecting all the money. He turns Egypt into a world power. He's got all the food. And even though the hunger only lasted a couple of years, but he took that wealth, I don't know what he did, but he became fantastically wealthy. And he took that wealth, it seems, and placed it in different areas. And a huge amount of that wealth, I think a third, was discovered by Korach. Fantastically, overnight, win the $1 billion lottery. So the question is, why did God want Korach to become fantastically wealthy? Like, why? I mean, it led to all the problems. It says like this. Joseph is also fantastically wealthy. And Joseph has a amazing character trait, right? His brothers, hated him. That's the bottom line. And still, Joseph turns around and he treats his brothers kindly. They come down to Egypt. Yes, he tests them. Yes, he puts them through the ringer. But in the end, he supports his brothers, all their children, grandchildren. He totally takes care of them. He never, reminds them what happened. He tells them, I totally forgive you. So what do you see? You see that the brothers hated Joseph. There was all this jealousy. And Joseph was able to totally ignore it. Forget about it. So now we're going to have this guy, Korach. And he's going to get all this money. But Korach has this character trait where he is a jealous person. And he has a lust and a desire for power. So God was trying to send a message. Korach, you have this character flaw. You can work on it. I'm going to give you money, and you're going to know where the money came from. You're going to know it came from Joseph. Can you learn the lesson of Joseph? Right? Don't be jealous. Don't take it out on other people. Can you learn that or not? Korach failed. But what's interesting is his grandson, who also caused some of the issues over here, was a famous prophet by the name of Samuel, Shmuel Hanavi. And Shmuel Hanavi, on the Sabbath, we mention a famous phrase that Shmuel Hanavi, the Samuel, is equal to Moses and Aaron. He was a very, very great person. And he never took anything from anyone because he knew he had to correct that flaw that was in him from his grandfather. Why do I say that this Shmuel was the problem? Not the problem, but I guess it all comes back. Korach saw with Ruach HaKodesh, he saw with the Holy Spirit, he saw like a prophecy that he was going to have this famous, great descendant. He said, how could it be this descendant could come if not for me? I have to be the cause of this descendant. Such a great descendant must be I'm a special person. We're going to see, there's a twist on that thought, but we got to take the story slow, just make everything very, very clear. But again, Shmuel understood this character flaw, and the only way he understood to take care of this character flaw was to not want any money. And not before he dies, but as he's getting the king, he anoints the kings. He anointed King Saul, he anoints King David. So when the Jewish people asked for the first king, he said, it was a conversation, him and God, that you guys should not be asking for a king. All right? Let's make it clear that I've never done anything wrong. Right? I've never borrowed from anybody. I've never demanded anything, even though I had a right to take stuff. That'll be Samuel. Okay. So let's try to figure out who and what, when, why. What's going on with Korach? So Korach is actually Moshe's cousin. And this is really very important to understand the lineage here. You have the tribe of Levi. Levi's son, not the oldest, by the way, but his son is Korach. Is Kahas. His son is Kahas. Kahas has 4 children. One of those children is Amram. Amram is Moses and Aaron's father. So Amram's oldest child, Kehass's oldest child is Amram. The next child in the Kehass family is Yitzhar. That's Korach's father. So Korach says to himself, the Kehass family is the most important family. At least that's how he felt. And he wasn't totally wrong. I mean, that's the family that carries the vessels of the tabernacle. Korach himself was one of the people that carried the ark. And the table and the menorah and the golden altar. I mean, they were very, very special. So, in Korach's mind, if the Kehass family is the most important family, so, okay, fine. Amram is the oldest of Kehass's children. And so one of his children has to become like king. Okay, Moses not the oldest, but okay, let it be Moses. Well, I am next in line for a position of authority. High priest would be nice. Or at least one of the princes, and he gets passed over. So this, for somebody like Korach, who, again, that's how we started the show, he desires power. He has this character flaw of jealousy. He can't handle this. And he's a brilliant, righteous, at least beforehand, person. And he could fool anybody. He's way, way smarter than just about everybody else. So he can use his brilliance, unfortunately, in the wrong way. And we're going to get into this. But that's really where the story begins. Now, exactly when the story begins is debatable. Either it takes place after the Levites replace the firstborn. In other words, originally, the firstborn, as anybody who has a firstborn, that child, person, will work in the temple. He'll be the priest. But after the golden calf, so the Levite tribe had nothing to do with the golden calf, they will take over. Okay? And according to some, that's when the story of Korach takes place. Others say the story takes place after the spies. It is in order of last week's story portion. We talked about the spies. So now the Jewish people are stuck in the desert for the next 40 years. So, that's a good time where all the complaints will come bubbling up to the top. We're on the way to Israel. We got the Torah. We're going to go to Israel. We're going to conquer the land. Okay, we have a complaint here, a complaint there. But once that is done, once we lost that opportunity, now every little complaint is going to come up. So there's 3 different groups that are complaining. You have Korach himself. He's complaining. He, it would seem, wants to be the high priest. He wants power. He doesn't like that he got passed over or skipped or ignored. You have Das and Aviram. Who's Das and Aviram? Those are the famous troublemakers. They started up with Moses in Egypt already. They tattletaled on Moses when Moses killed the Egyptian. Moses has to flee. When Moses goes to Pharaoh and Pharaoh increases the workload, they again complain. When the manna falls from heaven and Moses says, don't go out on the Sabbath to collect, they go out to see if they could find any. They do not see eye to eye with Moses, to say the least. They seem to complain we should have never left Egypt. Then you have the firstborn complaining. It's a little bit of a mixture, the firstborn and the tribe of Reuven. Because Reuven is the firstborn, so certainly he should be deserving of some benefit, maybe in the land, because he's the firstborn. And you also have the firstborns in general that lost their position to the Levites. And the Levites themselves are complaining. Partially, they may not have appreciated how the process took place. as the Levites, what happened? They have to shave off all their hair, and then Aaron has to lift each one up, and then the Jewish people are going to come and lean on them as if they're a sacrifice. It could be taken to be a little embarrassing. So they also have an issue. Perhaps their issue is like, why am I only a Levite? I should be a priest. So you have all these issues going on at the same time, different people complaining, but at the end of the day, we have this group complaining. Now, something comes out fascinating. And I don't know if we've talked about this in the past. When Jacob gives the blessing to Shimon and Levi, which is more of a rebuke than a blessing, he says a hidden statement. He says, don't mention my name by he doesn't say the word rebellion, but that's what it's referring to. It's just a very ambiguous verse, something about not mentioning Jacob's name. But it's really referring to this story. By the story of Korach, Jacob says, don't mention my name, meaning when we say the family lineage, Korach, the son of Yitzhar, ben Yitzhar ben Kahas, the son of Kahas, the son of Levi, it doesn't say the son of Jacob. Why not? Because if you think about it, Jacob really fought against the concept of the firstborn. Jacob himself is not a firstborn. His brother Esav is the firstborn. Jacob officially buys the rights of the firstborn, but the point was that just because you're the firstborn doesn't mean, right, you're Isaac's firstborn, does not mean the Jewish people are coming from you. So Jacob was always fighting this idea. I saw today it was actually a pagan concept about the firstborn. So Jacob is fighting this firstborn ideology. Now, I'm a firstborn, so we like the fact we're firstborn. There's something to be said about a firstborn. However, even though there's something to be said about the firstborn, but Jacob really fights against it. First of all, there's him and Esav. Second of all, he takes away the firstborn from Reuven and gives it to Joseph, because Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, become tribes. So Jacob takes away the firstborn from Reuven, and he does the same thing when he gives the blessing to Joseph's children, Ephraim and Manasseh. He again gives a blessing to Ephraim first. That was over and over. Jacob is going to keep showing everyone, we don't believe in this firstborn stuff. So one of the complaints that is showing up over here is, first of all, the tribe of Reuven, and second of all, the firstborn. They are all standing here saying this firstborn stuff has got to go. I'm sorry. They are fighting, saying we're the firstborn. We deserve our position of honor, of authority. So Jacob says, you got to be careful. If you're right that the firstborn cannot be overlooked and we cannot give authority to others, as Korach says, I'm the firstborn of Yitzhar. And Reuven says, I'm the firstborn of Jacob. And the firstborn people that came to fight said, we're in general just firstborn. If you're right that this process of firstborn has a right, well, then everything Jacob did is out the window. He had no right because Esav is older. He had no right to give it to Joseph. He has no right to bless Ephraim first. You're going to cause a lot of problems in the whole Jewish people concept because you believe that there's something to be said for the firstborn. So Jacob says, you can't mention me. The Ramban says that this, again, we said, is following the punishment of the spies, because we have all these different, really contradictory groups battling with each other. Right? Levi wants to be more important, even though they took away the job from the firstborn. The firstborn want the position, even though it was given to Levi. So Levi and the firstborn, they're all standing here, they're all fighting. So it is interesting that this group that is fighting with Moses as a group, in actuality, There's a major contradiction going on. Okay. But there's really one other player over here that we didn't mention yet. And that is Korach's wife. Korach's wife, when her husband came home, so she would say, Korach, look what Moses does to you. He shaves your head. Aaron lifts you up. People lean on you because you want to become a Levi. They treat you like a shmata. You know, there's some wives that everything is great. And there are some wives that they say they're sticking up for their husband's honor. Perhaps they are. But a lot of times they will cause more harm than good. And that leads to a great story, or at least a great concept. I told it over to my wife, and she loved it because she actually believes in it. So it says like this. It's not a story, it's just a concept. So he said you have to know like this. There's a major difference between, we know this, there's all kinds of books, but there's, believe it or not, there are differences between men and women, right? Now, man was created from earth, and the woman was created from man. So it comes out like this. A man's desire is to make his wife happy. That's his goal. The man's job is to make his wife happy. The woman desires to be needed, cherished, loved by her husband. So the woman's need is to be cared for. But the husband looks at his wife and says, I gotta make you happy. I think that part most of us can agree on. Right? Now, there was a great rabbi by the name of the Stipler, and he said, when you want to look for a mate, when you want to check out if this will be a good wife or not a good wife, if this will be a good husband or not a good husband, so he says, when you're looking into the boy, you want to make sure he has good character traits. He said, but when you're looking into the lady, he said, when you're looking into a girl, then it's a totally different look. You're looking for something in Hebrew. It's actually called merutza. That is what you're looking for. Merutza means she's satisfied. She's a happy, easily satisfied person. Whatever she has, she's okay with it. She's not always complaining, but the girl that's always complaining can never be happy, right? So the man's goal is to make his wife happy. So if a person naturally, or it could be trained, I guess, or it could be taught that they can be happy with less or more, but they could be happy, so that person, it'll be a great marriage because the husband wants to make the wife happy, and the wife is happy with whatever her husband, gives her. But a lady that's never happy, the husband can't satisfy her. There's nothing he could do. Right? And that's the problem that Korach is going to have with his wife. She keeps complaining about what Moses did, and he needs to become more important. He's trying to please his wife. Okay, I'll go fight with Moses. Right? Okay, I'll try to become a leader. He has no way. He will never satisfy his wife. So she will destroy him, which is exactly what happens to Korach. That he cannot make his wife happy, and therefore she destroys him. Which is, we always mention this, I know it's getting late on this show at least, but there was another woman here. In the original verse, it says who's leading the charge against Moses, with Korach and Dasan Aviram. There's actually a fourth person. His name is On Ben Peles. What's interesting is that even though On Ben Peles was part of the original group, but his name disappears. We don't hear from him. What happened? Obviously, Om Ben Pelz's wife was not the jealous type. She wants to help her husband. She's